Let's talk about Fantastic Four. 1, 2, 3, 4, baby. Let's go. Let's get get the show on the road. Whew. There's a lot to unpack here. As I assume you are well aware by this point, we have a Fantastic Four movie fast approaching. Superman has come and gone. Next one in the pipeline is Fantastic Four. And boy, like Superman seems like a Shakespearean piece of art compared to the Fantastic Four and the way they are going to introduce the Marvel first family. Like it's bad. But let's get the basics out of the way. Fantastic Four 101. The Fantastic Four were created back in the 1960s by comic book creator legends Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, which are some of the greatest names you'll ever hear in comic books. Of course, we know why. And just for a little bit of context, back in the day, Marvel wasn't even a thing. Like a little before the 60s, like from the 60s, 1961, the heat of the Cold War and the nuclear age, right? The space race was already set in motion by the Russians. October 4th, 1957. Crazy stuff going on in the world, a lot of tension. Originally, the comic books were created with the purpose of being positive propaganda and trying to uplift morale and try to get everyone on board with the effort towards World War II, right? A lot of the comic book characters that we know and love came from that era, but mostly from the DC side. The most archetypical ones, you can say, the classic characters all came from that era on the DC side of things. Marvel, however, didn't have that many characters going for them. One of the oldest characters in fiction, and that of course ended up in Marvel, was the you got two actually. You got the actual first Human Torch and Namor the Submariner from the 30s period. By the way, Namor predates Aquaman for like a decade or something. No, like more. Like, was it for like 30 years or 20? I'm a little fussy on that one. But yeah, he came first, interestingly enough. And, Atlantean and all that stuff came from him. But we're not going to talk about it. The thing is, DC had their act together back then. And they had their set of superheroes. And somewhere in the 50s, there came the Justice League of America, JLA Classic. And Marvel's back then was, again, not a thing. This Goodman fella happened to have the rights to a bunch of characters from way back when. One of which was co-created by Jack Kirby in the form of one Captain America, who was brought back to become a part of the Avengers. And, the rest, as they say, is history. But in actuality, the formation of the Justice League, back then also the revitalization of the character of Green Lantern, incorporating the elements from the sci-fi as we know it today, I think the Flash was also revitalized, taking into account OG Flash, Barry Allen. While they were doing that, Marvel thought, how can we respond? They wanted to bring that superhero team. And their response came in the form of the Fantastic Four. And introducing the first Marvel family and giving a little bit more depth and complexity to the superhero genre and what you could expect from it. And this is where pretty much Stan Lee and Jack Kirby ushered in a new age for comic books, because they brought Marvel into existence. It became one thing, from Atlas Comics to Marvel Comics. And by the 1960s to 61, Fantastic Four were created, very successful. And by 1963, they had their proper response to the Justice League in the form of the Avengers, a day unlike any other. The X-Men as well came into being, and it was great. A bunch of characters were introduced: Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Stan Lee and the Steve Ditko, it was like a bombardment of pure creativity and like a complete do-over of the superhero genre as we knew it, and it revitalized it quite successfully because it added, again, depth, complexity, troubles, and the superpowers were not seen exclusively as an excuse to do the right thing. They became a thing of like, am I trapped with this curse? Is the superpower actually a curse or a blessing, right? A blessing or a curse? One of the characters that explores this without a shadow of a doubt is the Incredible Hulk, right? Like, and you see that in the isolation of the character. Very often than not, the Hulk really wants to be left alone. And it's not that he wants to, but he does it because he feels that everyone is afraid of him, right? And it's an awful thing to go through. That's why he always seeks to be alone. But I digress. Those are the basics out of the way. Fantastic Four. The main members are Mr. Fantastic, or Reed Richards, the smartest man on the universe, or in the Marvel universe, right? He has a few rivals over there. But yeah, he's the smartest one for sure. He is actually the type of character who would develop things like a pocket universe, a time machine, teleportation, a variety of things, entropy weapons. Like, Reed Richards is OP just by his brain alone, and with his superpowers. He's actually underutilized, but he can be as cool as, if not even more dangerous than Elastigirl, which she made that superpower cool, right? And we all know that truth about the Incredibles is that the Fantastic Four movie we never got, they gave it to us in the form of the Incredibles, like, Pixar and all that stuff. When they were good, now they're trash. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, pretty much Mr. Fantastic, dangerous character to encounter, my guy. He's insanely powerful just by the fact that he's incredibly intelligent and the things that he can do. Again, going into other dimensions. I could go on for days. Next, we have the Invisible Woman, Reed's wife, or soon-to-be wife, right? She's incredibly young but incredibly smart, and one of the only individuals that gets close, in terms of intelligence. She's the one that gets close to Reed Richards. Although Reed is more of like the astronomer type, astrophysics, quantum theory, quantum entanglement. Sue is more of the biochemistry, stuff like that. That's more of her forte, right? But yeah, incredibly smart. And one of the most powerful members of the team. She has force fields and she can turn herself invisible, or surfaces or things invisible. There's like a subset of things that she can do with her powers, and they're very useful. And I mean, she's powerful enough that in the comics, there have been instances where she has even stopped the power of the Mad Celestials. And it's like, whoa, that's another type of power. Like, and again, it makes sense because their powers came from the very cosmos, right? It was an accident. And yeah, that's one of them. Then you go Human Torch, right? Johnny Storm. The brother, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm is the second Human Torch, actually. The first one was like an android that operated with fire that people were actually afraid of as well. And he just wanted to do good. But yeah, he was the first Human Torch. The second one is actually, Johnny Storm. And yeah, Johnny Storm is a different beast, though. And he's way more powerful than meets the eye, because his power is like cosmic. It's like the opposite of Iceman. But he doesn't only just create fire. He can increase like temperature, atoms, and all that stuff. That's why he can go supernova, like the temperature of the sun. He's like a very broken character when he reaches like peak level, right? Again, we have it on the side of the angels, right? And Johnny Storm has his vices and flaws, and that's why he stays with the Fantastic Four, right? Because he has the opportunity to be better, pretty much. And last but not least, we got the Brawler. Thing, Ben Grimm's The Thing. The tragic story, right? A little bit in line with the Hulk. One of the classic verses The Thing versus the Hulk, very powerful. But yeah, which brings us neatly along into the upcoming Fantastic Four movie that unfortunately is looking like a train wreck waiting to happen. There's a lot of people like faking enthusiasm or pretending like this is going to be like the second coming of Christ movies, and it's looking awful. Marvel is first of all, Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige and company, unfortunately are running with the theme that this is like an accurate comic book movie, like going back to formula, which is why they are taking the story back into the 60s. This is not a bad idea. I myself have thought about it. If you have read comic books for a while, you will inevitably come to this conclusion yourself that some stories is not that they are better told in the past, but the thing is the present right now, it's so annoying. It has become very hospitable for storytelling because of our phones, the technology we have now, cameras everywhere, satellites. And when you go to the past, you allow a creative writer to build a more interesting and potentially engaging story. A perfect example is Kingdom Come and Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Those stories took place during the 80s. Dark Knight Returns, I do remember vividly that it took place around the 80s, and still part of the heat of the Cold War. Not as bad as it was in the 60s, right? Especially Cuban Missile Crisis. That was the peak of the Cold War. Very, very high stakes back then. If you read The Dark Knight Returns, it takes place in a very specific scenario, and that is the only instance in which Batman can defeat Superman, and it makes sense. Anything other is just DC overusing that idea and to the detriment of both Superman and Batman, and it's just not good. It's not good. In that story, however, and in Kingdom Come, different stories, but my point is those are stories that take place after years of the superheroes made of humans and the careers of our mainline teams, the Justice League, taking place. Those stories, you can only tell them at the end of your lifeline. Like it's like I would call it post-Endgame. Like what Marvel did was somewhat okay, very effective and successful, but it was really well executed in Infinity War, mishandled in Endgame, giving just a mediocre send-off. Like, it has really good moments, but it's a very mediocre movie, poor time travel movie, and overall just a little bit of a letdown, but still like a worthy closure, right? And then you go, ooh, something else that happens, right? That's what DC can do if they get their act together and just do Justice League Unlimited for a while, and then they can go either The Dark Knight Returns or Kingdom Come. And you will have one of the most insane levels of hype, anticipation, and fandom gathering at the theaters, right? But, they haven't done it for whatever reason. But the Fantastic Four, getting back in track with the Fantastic Four, man. I get distracted so easily. But yeah, back with the Fantastic Four, this movie is awful, man. Before the movie could even start, it was ruined. Because the casting, man. Starting with the casting is off by a long shot. But yeah, starting with Mr. Fantastic himself, that casting alone kills the movie. Pedro Pascal has been inserted everywhere, and he's just not a good actor, man. I hear a lot of people say that, he's a good actor and this. I would say that Pedro Pascal is a competent enough actor. Like, he can play secondary roles, but that's about it. Like, I think Pedro Pascal's wheelhouse are villains or anti-hero types, not the hopeful type of character or leaders. Strong leaders, stoics with personality, with presence, men that command respect and authority. He cannot pull that off because he really doesn't have any of those traits himself, right? And he, acting wise, is quite limited. Like, If I think of the best of Pedro Pascal, the only thing that comes to mind is Game of Thrones, like Oberyn, like the Oberyn Martell, that whole mini saga, plot line. It's engaging, it's interesting. You feel like it's going somewhere, and he gets his head like blown up, but barehanded by the mountain, right? The thing is, that's where I can tell you, man, that's a really good, engaging actor. That's the first red flag. The poor casting of Mr. Fantastic. And to be completely fair with you, I think the casting from 2003 was far superior. I thought it was fine. Maybe a few modifications, a few twitches here and there could have made that portrayal better. But I would have that any day over Pedro Mediocre Pascal. Because he's not a good actor. He doesn't really have any type of range. All he does is moping, having a frustrated face all the time, like he's miserable. And it's just so gay, man. It's just not what you need. It's just so pathetic. It comes across as pathetic, and it looks like that, even in these trailers. But fine. Then you have the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, the one that they are forcing to be the main lead or the leader of the Fantastic Four. Like, listen, just because she's the only woman on the team doesn't mean she doesn't add value to the team. She has value, and she's a great character if you just read the books and make a good script. Like, the Fantastic Four is just 4 characters you have to find a way to balance and create interesting conflict between them, but in a familiar way, right? But if you come from a broken family, you have no notion of what that looks like, right? So I don't know who is writing this thing, but he clearly doesn't get it. Like, it's just like a facade passing for a family dynamic, pretty much. But the thing is, Vanessa Kirby, I think she was great in The Crown. I think the show that she was very prominent in. But other than that, and I don't mean to sound like a prick, but she's too old. She's too old, and it's starting to show. And the thing is, and don't get me wrong, Pedro fucking Pascal is 60, and it's showing. It looks awful. It looks like he's about to die, man. Like, for real? Like, you're 2 steps away from Joe Biden at this point. Like, what are we doing here? Like, if you come with the excuse of making a Fantastic Four movie into the future of Marvel, shouldn't you get young actors to portray these characters? Because Reed, if I'm not mistaken, is either in his late 20s, very early 30s, or just turned 30. From what I remember, right? I'm a little fussy on it. Sue is somewhere in her 22s to 23 years old when the whole thing Fantastic Four, the story happens. And the other characters are within that range as well. And they grow. Johnny Storm looks fucking awful, man. He looks atrocious. Now, I have nothing against the actor from Stranger Things, Eddie. Justice for Eddie, for sure, because he didn't deserve to die. He was a more interesting character. They should have kept him and put someone else in the mixture. I don't know. Killed everyone. Kill one of the main to have some impact. But they didn't. Again, this actor, Eddie from Stranger Things, good actor. I just don't think he's suited to play the Human Torch. And they changed the Human Torch. The Human Torch is like a gay friend. Like, we don't even know if he's going to be straight, but he's like sensitive, and he's going to be someone who understands the feelings of others. Bruh. What are we doing here, man? Like, again, you're just pretending that, oh, look at the classic costumes. Even though they're not the classic costume, they look ugly. I'm sorry. The ones from 2003, I don't know why they look better, man. Like, I don't get it. Where's that money go? Where's that budget going into? Like, for real, I want to know where the budget is going. If it's not going into special effects, script, or photography, or costume design, where is that money going? Like, who's tracking this? But I digress. Listen, Very quickly about Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm, the powers reflect a little bit some of the personality. Fire is very unpredictable. You never know where it's going to go. It can be harmful, but it can be a source of like warmth and comfort. And Johnny Storm in the comic books is a womanizer. Okay, that's it. He's a womanizer. He likes to go on clubs and get a bunch of girls, having some fun. The way he was portrayed back in 2003 or whatever the year was where that movie came out, that is Johnny Storm. That is how you should portray him. That's the character, because it plays into why he is in the Fantastic Four. Like he could try going solo, like a solo superhero act type of deal. But the thing is, in his heart of hearts, Johnny Storm understands that he's flawed. He's like, he has his vices. Maybe not an alcoholic, but he's got like this thing where he goes with a bunch of females, going parties, being irresponsible, pretty much. And that's the thing that keeps Johnny in the Fantastic Four, because he knows that if he goes on his own, some of those vices will only be amplified and will take him nowhere. Whereas if he stays with the Fantastic Four, he has a family, he has purpose. He can be of support to his sister. He can be of support to Ben Grimm, who, whether he likes to admit it or not, has become one of his best friends. That's the beauty of it. Sometimes, this is how I would put it. And this goes both ways for Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm. Sometimes the dearest of friends can be found in the bitter of enemies. And this holds true for Johnny and the Thing. They become good pals. And the when he says we're going to be the best uncles, yeah, it's like the cool uncle you never had, right? Like, or the one that went away and you have to deal with the perv on Christmas time, unfortunately, right? But they're cool, right? But that's why Johnny stays, because he knows he has potential for more with the Fantastic Four, right? This is oddly something the sequel, the old movies from the 2000s touched upon, when Reed Richards and Sue Storm are considering leaving the Fantastic Four and doing their own thing, like as a family, and focus perhaps on the scientific and move on forward that way. That's actually interesting, because they're precisely touching upon that, because Johnny reacts like harshly, but it's because insecurity. He knows that he's in a good place because he's got that family going for him. And that's what he's so concerned about. And he's like, am I going to just do a duo with Ben Grimm? You can go hang out with Ben, and as the story progresses, as the characters develop, Ben and Johnny do more stuff together, and that's like great. That camaraderie, right? It forges something very powerful. But yeah, that's the beauty of Johnny Storm. If you change it, then you lost a crucial element of your story already, and you lost already the dynamic between Reed Richards and Sue Storm, because she's the leader. Again, you lost the dynamic, man. You lost your train of thought, the possibility of executing the idea properly. And last, there's this thing I have to mention, by the way, when it comes to Johnny Storm. Doesn't it bother you guys, anyone out there who has watched Top Gun Maverick, doesn't it bother you that the guy from Top Gun Maverick, I don't remember the name, but is the guy who is with Sydney Sweeney on that romantic movie? But that guy from Top Gun, that is the douchebag, dude, that guy is Johnny Storm. Like, he's like someone like became a fourth dimensional being and pulled Johnny out of the comic and into the real world. That is the perfect Johnny Storm. He could play the womanizer. Is the guy who's going to be in the upcoming movie The Running Man? That's Johnny. That's Johnny Storm right there. And they didn't cast him. How? Explain how that happens. Who is in charge of that? Like, it doesn't make a lick of sense, man. But the thing The thing is, okay, something positive about the trailers and the upcoming movie. The thing looks great. The design with the huge shaped thing, like the rock eyebrow, the shaped. That's actually good. That's pretty good. It's cool to see that they are doing that. I don't think that as a negative at all. Visually, he looks great, and he should look powerful and remarkably strong. However, the voice sounds awful, like very off. And listen, when it comes to who plays the thing, you don't really have to worry all that much about who you're casting. You just need someone who comes across as warmthful, charismatic, and a very reliable and loyal friend. Because that's what Ben Grimm is to Reed Richards. Ben was always just happy to be with Reed and learn about stuff because by all measures, Reed was a conduit to the cosmos, right? To the interesting things about the universe and trying to understand and exploration. That's why Ben had such a good time with Reed, and that's why they were always good friends. He was always happy to learn about him, you know? And that's the conflict later because now he's a monster because of Reed. Not almost, because of Reed. And there's some good drama to explore there, right? Touch, the way people perceive you, your identity, who are you, is who you look, who you are. So many things to explore. And I guarantee you they are very likely to just brush over it like it's nothing in 2 seconds and then he's fine. And it's like, again, even the old movie had that going for it, you know? And you see him grow into that confident side that he's, hey, this is who I am, but, you know, that doesn't define me. Like what I do, right? Like a good hero, like someone who has growth in character development. But yeah, I would argue the casting of the thing is not really all that important. I would argue you need someone who has those qualities of being kind of warm and cool and loyal, and can express that through his voice and can change his voice because remember, the thing transforms. Like his whole body is like undergoes like some type of transmutation that changes every atom and building block of his body into rock. Like his vocal cords are like rock, right? So it should sound more like grinding, like a monster, right? But you know, it's just Ben. At the center is still Ben. He's just huge and very strong and powerful, right? But yeah, that's one of the first issues, man. The casting. If the casting doesn't work, your movie doesn't work, and that's why they come across the diverse four because Pascal is just a Latino white passing. Vanessa Kirby is the female leader because what is the woman's role in society and this and that. And like we haven't heard that 1,000 times in the last, 10 years? Maybe more? I think more. What else? My guy. Imagine if Stan Lee and Jack Kirby saw this, man. Like, assuming those two still get along and, you know, they both became... Though, I mean, they are legends. For anyone who reads comic books, you are more than likely aware of these comic book names, and you know that they're iconic and legendary. And again, it's just very frustrating, man. It's very frustrating to see what they have done to the Fantastic Four, and worst, what they have done to that guy right there. That's the Silver Surfer, by the way, the actual Silver Surfer. Okay, Norrin Radd, he's a dude whose entire body and balls are covered on an indestructible cosmic metal that allows him to travel through the vacuum of space. That's it. He's a guy. Okay? Norrin Radd. Not Shellabal. Shellabal, it's his wife. And again, what's going to be the story there? Like, let me give you a spoiler here from the movie that isn't a spoiler. It's just from the book. The Silver Surfer sacrifices his own humanity, let's say, and he's a scientist and an astronomer, and what he does is that he approaches Galactus and sacrifices his own life and freedom in exchange for his planet. He sacrifices his love He's married to Shalabal, and he has to leave her behind alongside her planet, and he does it as a way of bargaining with Galactus. And the deal is, spare my planet, and I shall become your herald. And Galactus, after some dialogue and looking into Norrin Radd, I think from the moment Galactus meets Norrin Radd, he realizes that he is a remarkable, honorable man. Read that story, by the way. Silver Surfer Requiem, one of the best, most beautiful Marvel stories out there that not that many people know about. Read that. If you can get your hands on that. It was so hard to get a hold of those things. But it's such a beautiful story by J. Michael Straczynski. Go for it. You'll have a blast. Maybe you'll get a tear or two. I don't give a fuck. I know I did. Beautiful story. But the thing is, that's the tragedy of the character. Norrin sacrifices everything in order to save his planet and his lady love. And that's a compelling story. And over time, he loses track of his mind and the sense of self. And he starts targeting any planet, right? Because at first, he does it with the intention of, I'll become your herald and I'll look for planets that are suitable for consumption without compromising sentient life. And he goes about his business in this fashion for a time until Galactus is like influencing him and making him forget or something. Somewhere along those lines. And, encountering the Fantastic Four, Sue Storm, the relationship that forms between them, an alliance, right, turns the Silver Surfer into a menacing villain, into a hero towards the end, right? And the Silver Surfer becomes like his own separate entity. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of the Silver Surfer. And they have gender swapping. And they have. Like, listen, if you want to, don't listen to Marvel Shields or Seals out there. The Silver Surfer is a very important character. Like, this guy has been in the comic books for over 30, 40, 50 years. And instead of portraying him properly, like in the old movie, granted, his powers are stupid because they come from the surfboard in that movie. But in the comics, he's bestowed with the power cosmic by Galactus, the very essences and power that fuels Galactus. He has like a permanent connection to our very universe that allows him to tap into a variety of powers. And he's just one of the most OP characters you'll come across. And when the Silver Surfer gets mad, bro, you can feel it, man. You can feel it. And you can see it. And the surfboard thing, nothing, man. Like Annihilation. I have Annihilation here, man. Dude, in Annihilation, he encounters a villain type. Rendezvous? I don't remember the name of the villain, but he grabs the surfboard, because the Silver Surfer's means of transportation is the surfboard, and it's just for maneuverability, right? And he takes it away, he snatches it, and the surfer is like, okay. And the other guy's like, what are you going to do without your surfboard? And the surfboard starts to stake into him, and he cannot let go. And he sends the Silver Surfer's aboard, flying like galaxies away. And you just see the eyes of the Silver Surfer watching it unfold. And he's like confident. And when he seizes it, he turns around, and out of his hand, he creates another board. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's like, it's so OP. Like, that's so hardcore right there. I hate this combination of words, but that's fucking aura farming right there. And it's chilling. When I read that the first time, I was like, what the fuck is going on, man? And then he goes into a fight. And granted, he has been reconnected with Galactus at that point. And he has been like, the title of Herald of Galactus is back. He is operating as Herald again. Whenever they are connected to Galactus, they become even more powerful, the Heralds. And he just goes all out on this dude, and they blow up an entire planet in their battle. And I'm like, bruh, shut the front door. My God, Jesus. It's epic, man. That's the type of comic book fantastical cosmic battles that we are owed by this point. And you're not going to get them. You're just going to get a female liquid metal Terminator 2 look better surfer lady. And listen, it has happened in the comic books. Yeah, for like 3 pages or 5 maybe on Earth X. And the only thing I became aware of this was because one of my friends read Earth X. I was aware of Earth X just because it has art from like Alex Ross. Some of the most beautiful art you'll ever see in your life. But yeah, that's how I knew she was like Shalabal Silver Surfer, right? And that's what they are saying to pretend like it's comic accurate. But the thing is, that only happened for 5 pages, my guy. Just accept that you gender swapped the Silver Surfer, underlining the powerful story that you could have told with Noreen Red, the actual Silver Surfer, in the place of a female. That's all you wanted to do. Be honest about it, and at least people will cut you some slack over it. Awful decision. It's gonna cost them, because those 2 factors alone, I would argue, are enough not to watch the movie. It's going to be an absolute travesty. And we'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, no. Galactus' story is interesting as well. Apparently, the rumors are that Galactus himself is cool. He's great. And I mean, if you read comics, you know, there's ways in which you can execute Galactus successfully. It's just that they never had the balls to do it. But his story is tragic as well. How he became the world eater known as Galactus. But it's very interesting. The other thing I'm wondering is, Uatu the Watcher. Like, there's a bunch of characters and villains that were introduced through the Fantastic Four. One of those, if I remember correctly, is Uatu the Watcher, man. The other place where you may have seen this guy is in this one, man. This is the best video game ever, man. Like, this is like the Marvel Bible. Like, if you want to become a Marvel fan instantly, just play this thing. It's the best comic book video game out there, superhero video game out there. And it's because of the story and because of the love and care that went into the characters and the portrayal of those characters. But yeah, Galactus' story is pretty sad, and he appears in that game as well. It's awesome. Highly recommended. It's just fun times. And but yeah, no, Galactus is actually the remnant from another universe. He was an interstellar explorer as well, Galen or something like that. And when the universe collapsed and was reborn again, you know, the entity, the Infinity Stones, or whatever. There's a bunch of origins to the universe, but Galactus become a universal constant, someone that has to exist to fulfill a purpose, which is to like create like a balance of life and death, and that's why he consumes planets, right? And that's how his powers are sort of limited. Like, he can interchange galaxies' positions or make them collide like that. That's how powerful Galactus is. But he has to replenish that energy through the destruction or atomization, I guess, from planets. But it's pretty cool. It's a very interesting character, and he fulfills a purpose. And he himself is not necessarily happy about it. There's so many things you can do with a Fantastic Four movie when properly executed. And again, this is another movie that is suffering from being overcrowded. Like, this is a movie where you have 4 characters. Those 4 characters have to stand out and become like the greatest thing ever, all revolving around Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four. If you don't do that right, you don't have a good movie. You don't have a story. Like, it's as simple as that. And the thing is, when it comes to Reed and the Fantastic Four as a whole, they're not even traditional heroes. They're like space adventurers. Like, all the time, they dedicate most of their time to exploring space and the cosmos and different dimensions, parallel universes. That's what they do. That's their bread and butter, and it's because Reed has this like need for exploring and solving problems and experiments and trying to help and make breakthroughs. He has such a drive for those things, especially the adventure, that's why the Fantastic Four are drawn to him, you know. Sue, Johnny, the Thing, right? Ben Grimm, they all gravitate towards Reed because of the enthusiasm that he has for exploration. And that's the cool part about the story that may not play it out in the same way in the movie. Like, in the books, their budget is cut short and then like canceled, and the whole project is going to be shut down, and they were almost ready for takeoff. And they infiltrate the base in the most comic book fashion ever, and that's how they activate the rocket, and they launch into space. And the thing is, unfortunately, Reed Richards, due to his own excitement, overestimated the capabilities of the ship, underestimated the threat of the cosmic storm, and when they are out in space, it all goes south, and they end up like crash landing back on Earth, realizing that their bodies have changed, they have been transformed, like they acquire superpowers, and you know, the rest is history. But yeah, I mean, the Fantastic Four is a great story when well executed, but a lot of things revolve around Reed Richards and a good casting. And right now, you don't have a good Reed Richards. Overall, the casting is a complete mess. I don't see how this can be a success. Even if it's a passable movie, it's going to be trash because of the changes they made. And how do you come back from that? Like, you, for sure, the diehard fans, like the diehard comic book fans that have become DC crazy psychopaths in Marvel, those won't go see the movie. And it's a good thing that these things have happened, because maybe now you'll have actual fans. The problem is you have shields and seals for Marvel that will clap and celebrate at anything Marvel does until a few years later, and they'll admit that it was a mistake and a bad movie. But on the lead up to this movie, a lot of people are praising it because it's comic accurate, which it's not. You want to see it? Okay. This is a comic book right there. That's how the Fantastic Four actually look like, my guy. Look at him. That's how the Fantastic Four actually look like. And that's how they should always be portrayed. Like always. This is a good story, by the way. What I would recommend you to do is, I think this is Mark Waid. Mark Waid is very hit or miss sometimes, but this one's kind of fun. What I would recommend you to do is just go read the old stories by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and then go read Jonathan Hickman's Avengers. Fuck, I really like that story. But no, go read Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, man. Jonathan Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four is so crazy, insanely good, and when Franklin Richards comes into place, that is so hardcore. It goes down so hard, man. It's good. It's like good. Like, damn. Like, it's too good. Like, go read that. You'll have a blast. You'll have a way better time than you'll ever have at this movie. That's what I would recommend you to do, man. But we'll see. I've been going over some of the classics lately, as you should. They're very good stories. Like, you'd be surprised of how good comic book stories are. It's baffling. Yeah. Listen, when it comes to the Silver Surfer, why didn't you use the chick lady on fire? Like, I don't remember her name off the top of my head right now, but there have been a bunch of heralds out there. There has been like the air dude, whose name I can't remember right now. Cosmic something Bender something, I don't remember. There's Fire Lord, there's Terrax the Tamer, there's the Fallen One, the original Herald of Galactus, who was too ruthless that even Galactus saw him unfit to be the Herald of Galactus. There's Stardust. There's also, of course, Norrin Rath's Silver Surfer. Well, more recently, we have seen Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is another Herald of Galactus and very powerful one. A fun book, fun story as well. I would highly recommend that one as well. A lot of surprises on that one. balls to the wall, crazy story. But I think my point is, even Stardust, I don't have a clue what Stardust is, or if that thing even has a sex, man. Why don't you use Stardust? Like, if you really want to do things differently or try something different so much, why don't you use Stardust? He's still a very powerful, like, Herald of Galactus. I would argue he's number 2 or it. I don't know what it is. I just know it looks cool, but why didn't you use that? Huh? You could have done that, or the Fallen one. Nobody would have said anything had that been the case, or at least they would have been more open to seeing the movie, right? But the Silver Surfer right there is just too iconic of a character to replace in such a disgraceful fashion, you know. But, you know, Marvel doesn't really learn from their mistakes, and they'll never will. They are unwilling to do it. Oh, man. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. If you don't know what to do with the movie, just wait and make a proper casting for the characters and then see how people react and go for it. Like for Reed Richards, even for Reed Richards, I'll be totally honest with you. For Reed and for Sue, I don't know who to cast. I know that Ben doesn't really matter as long as you have a good voice actor and someone who has charisma and warmth to him. But Reed and Sue, I will admit, I don't really have the best answer as to who would have been the best choice. The guy from Doctor Strange, like Krasinski actor, that was fine. I thought that was fine for Reed Richards, but you know, you disrespected him with Wanda, and it's like, I can guarantee you, Wanda is a lot more afraid than Reed Richards is of Wanda. Like, I have seen Mr. Fantastic use an entropy. First of all, I have seen him subdue the Thing, okay? I have seen him not get hurt by Wolverine's adamantium claws. The guy is so elastic that he cannot be caught by Wolverine's claws, the adamantium claws. Like, even the Thing has issues with this because he can pierce through his skin, even though it's rock. The same thing with the Hulk. The Hulk is like super powerful, but when it comes to Wolverine, the reason why Wolverine is problematic is because the asshole has adamantium, which is one of the very few things that can pierce through the Hulk's skin. So it damages him and it becomes an annoyance, right? But it's like that the Mr. Fantastic has a few things he can do with his power, being very dangerous. I would dare say he's close to indestructible based on how his power operates. But mainly the technology that he has. Like, I saw him brought up like entropy gone weapon to help the Council of Reeds at some point during Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, and he's like, yeah, bro, I got the artillery. And he blasts one, and he's like, annihilated. And I'm like, what the fuck? You have a weapon that can take out a celestial being? Like, I was like, what the fuck, bro? And he brought him down, and I was like, God damn, man. If you thought Lex Luthor was impressive with the sci-fi type technology he has, bro, you have seen nothing yet. Reed Richards, dude, the top floor of the Fantastic Four, the entire floor of the upper building of the Baxter building has a trans-dimensional gateway into another dimension, acting as a trans-dimensional panic room in case something happens to protect their children, Franklin Richards and Valeria Richards. The whole thing teleports to another dimension to keep them safe. And I was like, what the? When I read that, I was like, dude, like, I don't think you can stop Reed Richards would really be a problem if he was a villain. And that's the only way you can save this movie. If Reed Richards, if everyone dies, it's not going to happen. But, you know, it's fun to have a comic bookish theory. Everyone dies. He becomes angry. He discovers the negative zone. He becomes trapped there. He develops technology, enlarges his brain, and he becomes the Maker. And then you throw that into the mix, man. That would be great. That would be fantastic. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Fantastic Four movie. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.